Welcome to The Last Calm Word. Let us get started with today's story. My name is Alan Ward, and for most of my adult life, I believed I had things under control. I worked as a senior cybersecurity analyst in Seattle, the kind of job where you spend your days catching problems early, isolating threats before they spread. I was good at it. Calm, steady, always 3 steps ahead. People said I had a gift for noticing small details before anyone else did. At home, I thought I had the same stability. My wife, Kathy, and I had been together for years, married for just one. She worked in marketing, handling events and campaigns for a tech company downtown. She was bright, social, fast-talking, always in motion. I used to admire how she could walk into a room and make it feel like a meeting, a party, and a strategy session, all at the same time. We lived in a condo. No kids yet, but we would mention the idea once in a while, usually when we were calm enough to imagine the future instead of just getting through the week. Our schedules were demanding. I worked long stretches behind screens. She bounced between calls, clients, and events. We had a system: simple dinners, late-night shows, weekends where we tried to reset. Nothing felt broken, nothing felt out of place, just busy, just life. If someone had asked me back then, I would have said our marriage was strong, not perfect, but functional. Two professionals operating with trust and independence. She needed space to be social, I needed quiet to think. The balance worked, or so I thought. Looking back, the first signs were already there. A shift in tone, a longer pause, before answering a simple question. Her phone always in her hand, always lighting up. Moments that should have caught my attention but did not. I chalked everything up to stress, deadlines, the usual grind. I did not know that the same instincts that protected entire networks would soon have to protect me. But that part came later. Before everything collapsed, I truly believed Kathy and I were solid. I truly believed I knew the life I was living. I was wrong. The shift started quietly, the way most failures begin. Small changes, odd timing, a few details that did not line up. If this had been a system at work, I would have flagged it. At home, I brushed it off. Kathy began coming home later than usual. First, it was once a week, then twice. Then it felt like every other night. Client dinner, she would say while kicking off her heels. Last-minute planning. Team crisis. She always had a reason. None of them sounded strange by themselves. Her job was demanding. I knew that. But her tone changed. Sharper. Guarded. Like every question I asked was an interrogation. One Tuesday evening, I noticed her phone buzzing nonstop while she cooked. She turned the device face down each time it lit up. That was not normal for her. Kathy loved flashing her screen at me whenever she had a funny meme, a friend's message, or anything she found interesting. New password? I asked casually when I saw her enter a longer code. Security update, she said without looking up. A few nights later, we were supposed to go out for a rare Friday dinner. She canceled an hour before we left. The venue lost power, she said, rescheduling everything. I nodded, but later that night I saw a rideshare receipt in our shared email. It showed a trip across town around the same time she claimed the venue went dark. I asked her the next morning where the venue was. Her answer did not match the road on the receipt. She frowned. Alan, you are overthinking again. Maybe I was. Around that time, a name appeared briefly on her screen when she flipped it over too quickly. George. A message preview. Something familiar enough to make her smile for half a second before she realized I saw it. Who is George? I asked. A consultant, she replied instantly. Too instantly. I did not push it. I stored the away like a log entry. By then, the cracks were visible. She was defensive, distracted, always somewhere else in her mind. Now, I did not accuse her of anything. I simply watched. And the more I watched, the more I realized something was off. Once I recognized the pattern, I shifted into the mode I used at work. Observe first, act later. I did not accuse Kathy. I did not change my behavior. I simply paid attention. I checked the card statements. I was not hunting for trouble. I just needed clarity. On 2 of those late work nights, there were charges at a boutique hotel bar a few miles away. Small amounts, nothing dramatic, but they did not match her story. Then I found something I could not explain away. One night, she said she was stuck at an off-site event until midnight. I had an overnight shift scheduled, so she assumed I would not be home. Out of routine, I checked our building's camera feed, something I did occasionally when packages went missing. At 9:14 p.m., Kathy entered the lobby with a man behind her. The camera angle caught only his shape, not his face. Tall, business casual, holding his jacket over one arm. He followed her into the elevator. I stared at the screen for a long time. I did not confront her. Not yet. Logic mattered more than emotion. I needed clear proof, not guesses. The next clue came by accident. One night, while I pretended to be asleep, she stepped into the hallway and whispered into her phone. I heard one sentence, quiet but clear. I will meet you soon, George. That was enough. The following morning, I told her I had a 2-day work trip coming up. She did not question it. She even offered to drive me to the airport. Instead, I booked a cheap room near a condo. I packed a small bag to make the lie look real. I wanted to see what she did when she thought I was gone. I was not angry. I was not panicked. I was preparing. Kathy dropped me at the airport curb around 6 in the evening. She leaned over, kissed my cheek, and said, "Text me when you land." I nodded, rolled my small suitcase toward the doors, and waited until she drove away. Then I walked straight through the terminal, out the other side, and took a cab back to a hotel 2 blocks from our condo. By 9 in the evening, I was outside our building. The entrance was fully visible from across the street. I waited with the same patience I used during long system audits. No anger, no rushing, just focus. At 9:37 p.m., Kathy walked out. She was not dressed for work. She was not dressed for anything she had ever worn around me for a client dinner. She looked different, lighter, like she was stepping into a version of her life I was not part of. A rideshare pulled up. She got in. I followed. The car stopped outside a small boutique hotel downtown. Kathy stepped out without hesitation and walked inside like she had done it before. I stayed across the street, watched the entrance, kept my distance. 10 minutes passed. Then he arrived. Mid-40s, business casual, jacket over one arm. He checked his phone once, then walked straight into the hotel. No uncertainty, no hesitation. George. It had to be. I took out my phone, recorded. Not out of anger, out of habit. Documentation matters. Time stretched. At 11:12 p.m., they came out together. Kathy was laughing at something he said, her hand lightly on his arm like it belonged there. Comfortable. Familiar. Then she kissed him. Not quickly, not like a mistake, like it was routine. I took out my phone and started recording again, keeping it steady for a few seconds longer before lowering it. That was enough. More than enough. I did not follow them after that. I did not need to. I went home. I laid everything out on the dining table, printed receipts, screenshots, and a compiled timeline of timestamps. Clean, organized, clear. Then I waited. Kathy walked in just after midnight. She looked surprised to see me, but only for a second. Then her expression shifted. Confusion, then something tighter. "Alan, I thought your flight. Do you have something to confess?" I asked. She froze. I did not say anything. I just opened my phone, found the video, and turned the screen toward her. It showed her and George outside the hotel, standing close, then kissing. And just like that, the truth caught up with her. Kathy did not answer right away. She stood there, like someone waiting for a verdict. Her eyes moved from the screen to my face, then back again. When she finally spoke, her voice barely held together. I made mistakes," she whispered. "That is not a confession," I replied. "Tell me the truth. All of it." She sank into the chair across from me. Her hands trembled as she picked up a hotel receipt. It was not supposed to become anything. It started months ago, after a project meeting. George and I were talking. He was just easy to talk to. "You talked," I said. "And then what?" "Hotels do not appear in conversations." She winced. "Alan, I know I messed up. I know this looks horrible." "It does not look horrible," I cut in. "It is horrible." She wiped her eyes and tried again. "I felt alone. You were always working. You did not notice me anymore. George did. He listened." "You do not blame this on my work," I said. My tone stayed flat, controlled. "You had 100 options before this. Talking to me was one. Lying was not." She pressed her palms into her eyes. "I am sorry. I swear I did not mean for it to go this far." "How far did it go?" She swallowed hard. "A few months, maybe most of the year." "Meetings," I said, tapping the receipts. "Drinks, hotel rooms. You walked another man into my home building. You kissed me goodnight after seeing him. That was not an accident. That was a pattern." Kathy broke down, breath hitching. "Please, Alan, do not give up on us. We can fix this. I will block him. I will quit. I will go to counseling. Whatever you want." I shook my head slowly. "You should have wanted to fix things before you crossed every line." She leaned forward uncontrollably. "Just give me a chance. Please." "No," I said. "I am done." Her face collapsed, like she had heard the ground open beneath her. She whispered, "Where do we go from here?" "You will sleep in the guest room," I said. "Tomorrow we will discuss next steps." I gathered the papers into the folder and stood. There was nothing left to argue. I did not raise my voice. I did not curse. I did not ask why she chose him. I already knew the answer did not matter. By morning, Kathy looked like she had not slept at all. I had, surprisingly. Calm decisions are easier when the denial phase is over. I made coffee, sat at the table, and opened my laptop. We are getting divorced, I said. No anger, no hesitation. Kathy flinched. Alan, please, we can try. No, I replied. You made your choice months ago. I am making mine today. She did not argue after that. Maybe she knew there was nothing left to bargain with. I met with Linda Bennett, a divorce attorney recommended by a coworker. Organized, to the point, and unfazed by anything I showed her. She reviewed the folder quietly, flipping through logs, statements, screenshots, and watching the videos I had taken. You handled this efficiently, she said. You documented misuse of marital funds, hotel charges, rides, all of it. That helps with division. I do not want to destroy her, I said. I just want out. You will get out, she replied cleanly. While Linda prepared the paperwork, I searched for George Harlow online. There were photos of him smiling beside a woman named Annie Malik. Recent engagement pictures. Annie was a nurse at a local clinic based on her profile. I created an email with no emotion in it, just evidence and dates. Annie deserved clarity the same way I did. I sent it and closed my laptop. Annie acted fast. That evening, George was removed from her apartment. The next morning, she contacted Kathy's company, attaching messages she found on George's phone. Chat threads mixing business with personal talk. Scheduling meetups disguised as client prep. Kathy's department called her in. She returned home early, face drained. They took me off 2 accounts, she said quietly. Compliance is reviewing everything. I might lose more. I did not respond. It was not my responsibility to comfort her anymore. 2 days later, I handed Kathy the divorce papers. She cried when she saw the settlement terms, but she did not fight. I kept the condo, investment accounts, and my car. She walked away with a smaller share and 1 vehicle. She moved into a small rental near her office. Friends drifted from her. Coworkers whispered. The walls she built fell faster than she ever expected. I did not celebrate any of it. I did not need to. This was not revenge. This was closure. In the months that followed, the quiet felt unfamiliar at first, then peaceful. I filled my time with structure. Work during the day, long walks in the evenings, and weekends spent at a boxing gym near the waterfront. It became routine. Punches, sweat, focus. No room for the past, no space for bitterness. At work, life settled back into rhythm. I handled complex breaches, led 2 major investigations, and somehow found energy I did not realize I had been missing. I was not dragging emotional weight anymore. I also grew closer to Maya Thompson, a coworker who had a similar dry sense of humor. We grabbed lunch occasionally, talked about work, travel, things that did not feel heavy. There was no pressure, no expectations, just simple company. Kathy stayed quiet after the move. She did not call or send messages, not for a long time. Then, about 7 months after the divorce paperwork was filed, she emailed, Alan, I am really sorry for everything. I know I do not deserve your time, but I would like to talk, just once. I read it 3 times, not because I was on 5. If I wanted to respond clearly. We met at a cafe near her office. She looked thinner, tired, and older than the last time I had seen her. The fallout had changed her. I did not feel anger or satisfaction, just distance. I know you do not owe me anything, she said softly. I wanted to apologize properly. I let her talk. She admitted the affair had cost her friendships, work respect, and most of her confidence. She said George tried to apologize to her, then blamed her, then disappeared. When she finished, she asked, Do you hate me? No, I said. I just do not trust you. And trust is the only thing marriage runs on. She nodded, tears forming again, but said nothing. We ended the conversation politely. No plans to keep in touch, no second chances. As I walked away, it hit me how light I felt. Some endings do not hurt. They just close. A year passed before I realized how far I had come. The condo looked different now. My routines were steady, morning workouts, clear-headed work days, dinners that did not feel rushed. Life was not loud or dramatic. It was stable. Kathy rarely crossed my mind anymore. When she did, it felt like remembering a job I once left, something that shaped me, but no longer defined anything. She had moved on too, from what heard, still working at the same company, but not in the same role. She kept to herself. The bright social woman she had once been had dimmed. Choices have consequences. She learned that harder than I ever needed her to. What mattered was that I was not angry. I was not replaying old arguments or imagining different outcomes. I did not want anything back. The man who once overlooked every warning sign was not the man standing here now. Later that week, Maya and I grabbed coffee after work. We talked about nothing dramatic. Movies, plans, work jokes. She laughed easily. I liked that. There was no rush, no expectation. Just a possibility I did not mind exploring. As I walked home that night, I remembered the moment everything changed. The night Kathy walked in and I asked, "Do you have something to confess?" Had once felt like the end of my life. It turned out to be the beginning. I was not broken. I was not bitter. I was free. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Wishing you all the best, stay healthy, and take care